Okay, this is the beginning of day 9. So I left the hostel this morning. I was shuttled back up to where we were slack packed to yesterday, and I'm hiking. Today looks like not so hard a day. I plan to do 10 miles. Good portion of that is down, and then I'll have an up and over hump and down into a campsite. Today has dawned very clear. Today has dawned very clear and cold. And you can see, though it's sunny, the thermometer on my little pack reads 31 degrees as I take out here this morning. So it's taken a little bit to get warmed up, but it is absolutely stunning. And so we're going to keep going and see what this day brings. So I just had an opportunity to just interact with some folks this morning and last evening. That was really good. Be able to share some of the stories, our family stories, and so God has a reason for everything. And so we thank you for this day. I have a fully loaded pack with 6 days of food, so the uphills are a little harder today. But shout out, I'm using a new pack on this trip, Z-Packs Arcol, Arcol 60. It is actually, it's the Ultra 60 anyway, whatever they call it now. It is very comfortable. It's probably the most comfortable pack I've ever used. And so it carries really well. You just have to carry the weight. So we'll see you on down the trail. Try to shoot you some pictures today. I don't know how many mountaintop vistas there'll be, but I'm sure there'll be interesting things because there is every day. So I stopped here at Jenkins Shelter for a little lunch break. It was a little early 11:30, but I took a break here, drank some water, laid down for a little bit. I'm gonna go down here to the stream in a little bit and filter some water and be on my way. I have about 4.6 more miles, but I do have a climb in that, so I need to go down here and get plenty of water because it'll be dry between here and there. And that's my day. But it's turned out to be just a beautiful, stunning day. And the downhill's been nice and pretty gradual. We're going to go down here to the bottom, and then we're going to start back over the mountain. You can see in the background, I'm going to go up and over that some way and down the other side. Okay, so let's talk trail a little bit while I'm here on an easier section of downhill. So what are the challenges of the trail? First, there's physical exertion. That's the obvious one. But really, logistics is the big issue. Generally, you need water to camp. So you need to camp either near a water source or you need to carry water to a campsite. I generally try to camp near water. Water is heavy. If I need to carry 3 liters to get me going in the morning, that's 2.2 pounds per liter. So that's 6.5 pounds of water weight, and 6.5 pounds is a lot of weight. So it could be that you have enough strength to go, instead of 10 miles, you could go 12, but that 12 miles would put you in the middle of an uphill in the woods somewhere where you don't have water, and so you can't camp there. So you're kind of limited by water sources by where you can camp. If it's just gentle rolling country and you want to go a couple more miles and make camp, that works. But so that's one. The second is you need to get to resupply points to get more food because you can only carry so much food. I figured out now thus far that I can only put 6 days of food in my pack, and that's pretty heavy. That's probably 12 to 14 pounds of weight. So you need to be able to find resupply points along the way, no more than 6 days apart. Or you have to hike farther to make sure you get there. There are some instances on the trail where you pass a road and you can hike a couple of tenths of a mile to a deli or a little grocery, and you can pick up a little additional food to maybe extend your 6 days to 8 days. But it becomes this logistical game that you're always looking forward. So you hike for the day, make your camp, make your food, then you get out your trail guides and you look at it and you make sure you're on track to get in to a resupply point while you still have a little food, or at least when you come to the end of your food. So another challenge is if you don't have somebody shipping your resupply or bringing your resupply, then you have to resupply with what's available. And sometimes that's pretty limited, so you may end up on a pretty limited diet. I remember seeing one through hiker showing their resupply at a certain place and consisted mainly of candy bars because that's all they could get, and they need to get so many calories in. So that kind of diet won't work for you real long. At least it wouldn't work for me real long. You do need some. It's okay to have some empty calories in your diet because you burn them. So they go in and they go out. It doesn't mean, it means you ought to put some other good stuff in there too. Whoa. So it's a fairly demanding mental challenge. And the other night, into day 7, I'd had a long climb up and over, and it was cold, and I hiked in wet shoes. And when I got to the hostel, I was just having a hard time getting warm because it had a concrete floor and there wasn't a lot of heat and all that. And I kind of got to the point where just mentally, I didn't hardly have the energy to process and make the decisions I needed to make. So rest is important, food is important, and logistics are important, and make it all a challenge. And then you add that on top of the physicalness of it, and it becomes a bigger challenge. You know, sometimes you have to take it one day at a time, and you might come out and you can discover you can push farther. You have an end point that will let you push farther, and that's really nice when you can do that. And some days you may realize that you just need to come up short just to treat yourself okay. So it's a real balancing act on working your way through. And then you have things like blowdowns to get over. And if you're young and spry, I guess it isn't so much a problem. But add a 30-pound pack to your back, and it makes it a little bit of a challenge. So today's trail really is not bad. It's actually pretty good. We're doing this gentle downhill. I looked at the hostel last night. There were a couple ladies that had hiked this section yesterday. They got shuttled up the trail, hiked back to the hostel, and they started 15 miles from the hostel. And I looked at their tracker, and their gain from when their elevation gain for the section they did for that day was 3,300 feet, which is a whopping lot of elevation, and they were totally beat. But shout out to Kelly and Ginger. It was awesome. They are older. I think Kelly's in her 50s and Ginger is 67. And her goal is to finish the whole AT in sections. She's got all of New Hampshire, got a little bit of Maine left to do. Just finishing Virginia, and then just has North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. And I think she said she was getting ready to finish Georgia again in another section this year. She goes out at least once every couple of months and does a section. She's retired, so pretty amazing, pretty amazing. So today we're just going to be on a long downhill grind, and you know, downhill also takes different muscles than what you can work up in the gym. So it's taken a little while for my downhill muscles to come in. They don't really have very many machines that work on your downhill muscles. And if you're a young person with no joint issues, I guess you can just kind of blast down this trail and kind of run, and it won't hurt. But for me, I need to kind of put the brakes on and watch so I don't impact real hard on some of these downhills. So these holding back muscles that are kind of holding me from going too fast, they're getting a real workout today. But we'll keep going. So everything has its challenge. Uphill is a challenge, downhill is a challenge. But the good news is about every day has a sprinkle of both. You have some uphill, you have some downhill, and usually somewhere along the trail in the day you'll have a nice gentle section where you can just kind of stretch your legs out and let them go and not worry so much about holding back or going up. So I've had a little bit of all those three here this morning, and I imagine it's going to continue. I mentioned earlier that when I came out this morning, told you in the thermometer it was 31 degrees. It's now warmed up to 41 degrees, and I think the high today is supposed to be 56. And 56 is a wonderful hiking temperature because you can go with minimal amount of wraps, and yet your exertion keeps you warm. So this is really perfect hiking weather. I think when I looked at the forecast tonight, the low will be somewhere around 36, 38, 40 degrees, well within my comfort zone with the equipment I have, and so I plan to camp out, but I'm taking you along for the ride. So some of you have questions about how a hammock sleep system works. So I'm going to show you. First I string up my hammock here, and this is a hammock that I've sewed myself. And then instead of just putting a sleeping bag in the hammock, I use a quilt system. So because if you laid in a hammock with a sleeping bag, you would compress the insulation, I put a quilt underneath the hammock that kind of adheres to the bottom of it to insulate the bottom of my body. And then I use what's called a top quilt. It's kind of like taking your sleeping bag and cutting it in two, but this, because it's suspended under the hammock, the insulation stays puffy here and keeps me warm. In fact, even on a warm day like this, it's about 75 or 80, when there's a breeze and you lay in the hammock, it will chill your backside because of the loss with the wind blowing over it. It's amazing how quickly that happens. And then in the hammock itself is something called a top quilt. It's not a full sleeping bag. It's just enough to cover the top of my body and wrap around under each side. So in essence, the top quilt and the bottom quilt end up being about the same weight as a sleeping bag, and that keeps me toasty warm. This particular sleep system should be good to maybe the mid-20s, maybe 20 if you really wanted to push it. The bottom quilt is 20 degree rated, but I sleep a little cold, and the top quilt is 10 degree rated. I haven't had this system below about 38, I guess, but that's how it works. People think it sounds a little weird, but it really does work and keeps you really toasty warm. And then on top of that, you can see I've got a tarp over here to cover me up and keep the water off of me. And I sleep a lot more comfortable in a hammock than I do on the ground. It's hard to get a level spot, and there are bumps and just so many different things. And it's easier to find two trees to set up a hammock system than it is to find a flat campsite to put up a tent. So, and it's about the same amount of bother, I guess. Some people think it's more work to set up a tent than it is a hammock. I don't quite know on that, but anyway, that's a little bit of an overview of my hammock system and how it works. And then when you get in, the other thing people say is that, well, they think a hammock would make you sleep like a banana. But if you can see here, if I lay diagonally in the hammock, if I pull the underquilt up, you'll see that there isn't a whole lot of curvature. It's fairly straight. So you don't sleep like a banana because you lay on the diagonal in the hammock. And it gives you a fairly flat lie. It isn't perfectly flat, but it's fairly flat. So that's kind of an overview of how I sleep at night. Well, I wanted to give you a wrap up on Day 9. So hiked this morning from Virginia Route 623, which is a little bit north of on the trail of Burke's Garden. I was dropped off there. That's where I started my slack pack yesterday, and hiked down here to basically the Laurel Creek trailhead. There's a campsite here. About 9 miles, 8.5, 8.9. Could have gone further today, but the problem is the trail goes up and there's no water for 7 miles. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me to fill up and get 3 or 4 liters of water, hike 3 or 4 miles and try to dry camp on the top of a ridge. Plus, kind of know from the weather forecast we may have some rain rolling in, and I prefer to be down low when the rain rolls in. So it's right on my target, 8, 9, 10 miles. So that looks like kind of what it's going to be. It was a good day. I had some climbing today. I had a full pack of food, 6 days of food. So it was heavy, but I felt really good about how it went. My climbing seems to be getting a little better. My body's getting in shape. I've noticed I hopped on the scale at Burke's Garden Hostel, and I noticed I've dropped a few pounds. It isn't anything terribly serious, but I dropped 3, 4, 5 pounds. You know, any pound that you drop, you don't have to carry, so it all works together. So I'm just, I keep talking to through hikers, and they keep telling me that it takes about 3 weeks till your body really gets into condition. And I'm kind of really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the day when I can start an uphill climb and I can just kind of grind it out without stopping. But I had about 800 feet elevation gain today on an uphill, and it went really well, and then had some really nice cruisy trails. So it really is true what I said this morning when I started out, that about every day gives you a variety of stuff. So I started out, did a descent, was in traditional hardwood forest, just trees, for a good portion of the day, then descended into the valley, back into rhododendron, then up over a mountain again, and back down into rhododendron and a stream, and saw some really pretty waterfalls which will be here on the video probably at the end with some music. And so it's been a really good day. Beautiful, beautiful weather. Started out 31 degrees this morning, just a hair chilly. I bet it's in the mid 70s right now. It's calling for a rain front to come in for tomorrow and the next day, Thursday and Friday, but it's chance of scattered showers, and actually overcast is not bad. So I'm just chilling right now, probably edit some videos and get some camp chores done, get set up, and we'll rest up, and then tomorrow we're going to go for a 10, because the next water source, the next reliable water source is I think 10 miles away. There's an unreliable source at 7, which may be running now because it's been raining. But so I'm going to have to camel up in the morning. I'm going to have to drink a lot of water and probably carry 2-3 liters of water with me. Tomorrow night we'll probably be at a shelter because that's where the water source is. And it looks like the day after that will be kind of the same deal. We're going to be kind of up on top of a ridge. Going up and down, and there isn't much water on top of the ridge. So water is going to be something I'm going to have to pay a lot of attention to. Today I did really good with my drinking. Every time I got a chance, I drank some water. Didn't necessarily carry a lot, but it's all important. Water is probably the most important thing, probably more important than food, to stay hydrated. Dehydration will really knock you out pretty quick. So beautiful, beautiful hiking day. This is one of those 1 in 5 perfect hiking days, and so just happy to be at camp. I've got a lovely campsite here. I'll show it to you a little bit. It even has a picnic table, which is unusual. And there's a stream just down over the bank there, so I can go down there and filter water. And then I've got my tarp halfway set up here, and I'll get fully set up. I have set it up here to dry because the last time I had set up was 2-3 nights ago, and it rained that morning and I packed it up wet. So just gonna Gonna chill in camp here, do some camp chores. I've got a little mending to do on one of my pieces of clothing. Got a little hole in it, so I'm gonna work on that. So that's kind of what my day looks like at this point. With my body not being able to push really big miles, it's a little weird. I get to camp sometimes pretty early, and then I have to figure out things to do for the rest of the time tonight. I'll probably edit today's video just because I can. I can't publish it because there's no cell service here, but I'm gonna just sit here and enjoy and soak up the good weather. It's not gonna be too cold tonight. And then tomorrow morning, we're just gonna assess the situation and take off in the rain for that rain walk or whatever rain comes tomorrow, and hike to the next shelter. Not a lot of elevation gain, which is awesome. But a lot of ridge walking, which will be just kind of up and down rolly. And that's kind of what the day looks like. The goal right now is for me to make it to Pearisburg for the next resupply, which means I need to hit about 10s every day to meet Linda in Pearisburg to do a resupply. So anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate all your comments. It really is a neat experience. Met some folks today. I met several thru hikers today. I met a couple from Australia, which was awesome. I didn't quite get his trail name. I think it was Yahweh. It almost sounded like Yahweh, but I think it, with an Australian accent, it was supposed to be something different. And his wife, Solar, they're both retired, and they flew into Atlanta, and they're hiking the trail. Had a great interaction. They were great people. I ran in again to this becoming a friend, a lady who's retired and is hiking the trail in pieces, being supported by her 80-year-old dad, Fun Size. So shout out to Fun Size. I'll throw a picture of myself and Fun Size in here in the photos. Let me see, who else did I run into today? I think maybe that's it. I only got passed by 2 people today. I'm the thru hiker that started late, and everybody that's passing me started like the middle of March or something like that in Georgia, and they're they're knocking out 15 miles a day or something like that. So just having to keep my ego in check and stick with my plan. But anyway, great to have you along, and it's great to have a good campsite. Thanks for all your support. Just continue, if you're watching, continue to pray for me. It just, this kind of teaches you what you're made of. And at the end of the day, when you're really tired, it's easy to make bad decisions. I don't feel as tired tonight as a lot of nights, but they're just, every day is full of decisions. When to stop and get water, how to stay, you need to stay hydrated and stay out of trouble with water, where to stop, where to eat, what to eat, and so forth. And so it isn't really like just putting your head down and going for a hike, because you have to think not only about today, but you got to think about tomorrow and the next day, and then where you're going to be. Can you get some more food along the way? And so there's a lot of thinking and then planning that goes into this. And also this morning, the lady who runs the hostel, the Burke's Garden Hiker Hostel, found out she's a believer. Was able to pray over her before I left, which was awesome. We shared some stories about God's goodness, and it was just a real encouragement to me, and I imagine to her as well. And when I ran into Fun Size this afternoon, Fun Size is going to be staying at the Burke's Garden Hostel tonight. So it's really interesting how these things come around and how you continue to meet different people out here. But God is good, and thank you, Pastor Joe, for that word where you, the Isaiah scripture, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, they shall mount up with wings as eagles. I probably quote that to myself about every day, especially when I get on the uphills, and it's just really an encouragement. I've been trying to be positive and thankful for everything that comes my way. I'm thankful for rain, I'm thankful for sunshine, I'm thankful for uphill, thankful for downhill. And so it's just been really encouragement to read your comments on videos. So those of you following the videos on YouTube. And if you're seeing anything in my photos that I'm posting on Facebook, keep coming along with me. It keeps me motivated to keep going. There's an awful lot of walking that happens. Today I probably was walking for 5 hours, 4 to 5 hours with a break in there somewhere. And as it goes on, I'll probably be walking more like 6 to 8 hours a day. And that's a lot of walking. So, but it's really neat to see all the different views, and what's around the next corner is always different. And it's also neat the people that God places in your path. So anyway, stick with me and I'll take you along for the ride.